Please welcome on the stage Trinity Nguyen, VP of Marketing at UserGems, and Christian Kletzel, CEO and co-founder at UserGems.
All right. Good morning, everyone.
Trinity, it is noon.
Christian, this is about sales and marketing alignment, and that sounds like disagreement.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
All right. Well, by way of introduction, my name is Trinity Nguyen. I lead the marketing and sales development teams at UserGems. For those of you who register for this session early on, Tammy Saxon, Chief Revenue Officer at Skyflow, was supposed to be my co-speaker. Unfortunately, she's not feeling well, so I managed to rope in Christian, who is the CEO and co-founder of UserGems, but he's also managing the sales and success team, to join me on stage today. Thanks, Christian.
Hey, everyone. Good to be here, even if I'm the second choice. I will talk about my experience, but also share what Tammy's notes and her experiences.
Great. All right, before we move on to the content, just so that we understand who you are, how many of you here are in marketing? All right. And how many of you are in sales? Oh, better than expected. For those of you who didn't raise your hand, I'm assuming that you're founders, and whether you like it or not, you are in sales. All right. Christian, you want to get started?
Yes. So, Trinity, what does revenue alignment mean to you?
I think to answer this question, I would take a step back a little bit. So if you're in B2B, this image of sales and marketing arm wrestling or butting heads is pretty common. You will hear things from sales that would say, I want more qualified leads from marketing, and marketing just give me really crappy leads. And on the marketing side, you will hear things like, well, we give you amazing leads as long as you know how to close those leads and follow up with them on time. So that's the context. So what does revenue, why is revenue alignment so important today? Well, I think if we remove ourselves from which department we're in and just look at the business as a whole, when you pull resources together, you can achieve more things better together without breaking the bank. And that means going after the same accounts and the same buyers together, higher conversion rates, more wins, and doing so a lot more efficiently. And in this year specifically, in the current market condition, we as operators still have to hit the crazy revenue goals and have to do so with a lot less resources. So aligning the two teams together actually means a lot more this year compared to the last 10 years. So Christian, as a sales leader, what does it mean to you?
So, what it means to me is I want to have more revenue. I think that's clear. But I also want to make the life of my sales reps easier. It gets harder and harder every year. Like, the sales process has way more stages now, way more stakeholders. We see that the number of decision makers in a deal increases. So the way we can make sales easier for everyone means if we're working together with marketing. And the important thing is that it's not only about working together with marketing at the first stage in bringing in the leads, but actually every stage across the funnel. Ultimately, we want to improve conversion rates to make sure we win more deals.
All right, sounds good. So since a lot of you are in sales and marketing, you hear the term revenue alignment all the time. At this point, it's kind of like a buzzword. There's a lot of materials out there and white paper and ebooks talking about the strategic level, how to achieve it. But what you're going to hear from this is the 3 tactical tips that we've used internally to make sure the two teams align. We've also seen from our customer and prospects doing so to keep the two teams aligned. So the first one is very obvious in theory, but very, very hard to do in execution. And personally, I've seen a lot of teams alignment fall apart at this stage. So the first tip is go after the best buyers together. And what that means is you need to understand who to go after, identify your ideal customer profile, but do it together as sales and marketers. What makes up your ICP? Different criteria, which segment, which industry, which geography, what kind of tech stack they need to have to make this company a perfect fit for you. Sounds obvious. If you go around the company right now, most people might give you a different set of ICP. Then, once you get that alignment, you build a list of target accounts, list of companies that fit this criteria together. Again, and this is the easy part. What happens next is most companies get to this point and then go off, take this list, go off to marketing and sales for their execution. What usually happens is marketing will end up advertising to the entire list because it's easier because we have the tools to do that, and then realize a quarter later that the sales team actually only worked half of them. Or in some nightmare situation that the two teams ended up with their own target account list I see some nodding and smiling. Sounds like you have some battle scars over there. With their own different account lists, that's completely different from each other and completely different from the original list. So that's step one.
And then the second step is once you have this account list, you talk about who to target within those accounts. So this means defining your persona once again together, because it's really important that it's the same persona that receives the same messaging across all the channels. And in our case, we even go a step deeper. We really like lists here. So the next list we create is actually a list of individual people within those accounts, within those personas that we reach out to. And in this case, what this means is we look at the account and look at what is the warmest path into that organization. So we look into, is there anyone we have a relationship with? Is there anyone that purchased or used the product already previously? Does the executive team have any relationships into that? We also look at, is anyone who got recently maybe hired or promoted, they have budget. They spent their budget in the next 100 days. We also work with investors to see, do our investors have any relationships into this account? So the whole idea is that we're not just defining the accounts, we're not just defining the persona, we're defining the individuals we go after. And that's really important. And then sales already does this, but then we also share this list with marketing. And then marketing reaches out in their advertising to the exact same people within that account. And that's really tip number 2. It's surround your prospects. That's what's necessary right now. It is so hard to get in touch with someone. We are always surrounded by signals. Our attention span is 2 seconds. So what we need to do from the sales and marketing side is have a lot of signals that ultimately add up to a full story. Make sure that the 2 seconds here and the 2 seconds here ultimately result in the prospect understanding who we are and what we are doing. So from the sales side, we do all the typical steps of reaching out to these defined people via email, via LinkedIn, via phone calls, via gifting. And then on the marketing side.
And similarly, on the marketing side, we make sure that the exact people that the sales team is reaching out to also see our ads, our content, no matter where they go. So whenever our SDRs or AEs reach out to anyone, we're 100% sure that they will see us when they've been scrolling through Instagram stories, things like that, to make sure that our brand stay top of mind as someone considering us. And that's just to bring somebody into the funnel. We even take it the next step further. So we want to help the sales team accelerate and close deals faster. So we do it in 2 ways. The first way is for these prospects, depending on where they are in the opportunity stages in the sales cycle, they will also see ads and content. So we're basically using marketing to nurture them through the opportunity stages. So that's one. The second one is we know that no one's making a buying decision alone these days. There's an entire buying committee of on average 7 people. For us, we have 3 target persona. So if we know that our sales team is only talking to 1 persona, then our ads automatically following the other persona, the other teams, to make sure that they're aware that there's a sales conversations going on in case they want to bring in. The reason why we're doing it for marketing is we basically copy the multi-thread strategy from sales and bring it to marketing to help sales multi-threading through ad channel and accelerate deals a little bit faster.
But the difficulty here is that usually marketing is incentivized to bring in new deals, new leads, but they're not incentivized to actually accelerate existing opportunities.
That is true. And a lot of marketers are incentivized by MQL. And that brings us to the third point. So align early on attribution, easier said than done. But essentially, as a company, the only way for the 2 teams to stay aligned throughout the process is that the 2 teams are incentivized by the same thing. So Christian, as sales leaders, what do you care about?
I care about revenue. So I don't care about attribution. I don't care about whether it was inbound or outbound. What I want is the deals are getting closed. And we all know that sales is not straightforward. It's really hard to say, did this lead come in because someone outreached to them or they saw our ad? As mentioned, it's usually a lot of different touch points that ultimately lead to this. But I care about it getting closed.
Well, it's easier for sales because it's just one goal, revenue, right? But for marketing, it's a little bit trickier. We have a big budget, true, but we also get scrutinized a lot more to figure out how to optimize the way we spend it. Which channel is it coming from? Is it webinar? Is it event? Is it inbound or outbound? So we get this question a lot from the boards and the CFOs. So that's the reason why attribution exists. Having said that, again, if we remove ourselves from being in the department and just think of a business as a whole, the only metric that really matters to a business and for us to keep our job is revenue. So if marketers can be incentivized to not just measure by the number of pipeline we generate, but also on the revenue side, then now we can say we can allocate our budget this much on generating new pipeline and this much on helping sales, accelerating deals and close deals faster. The second thing is also, like Christian mentioned, inbound versus outbound. There's no such thing as just one inbound or one outbound touch point that gets someone in the door. We've seen this gazillion time over. So why do marketing and sales dev always sit around and trying to take credit of where this come from? So what I've been seeing the last 2 years is that more and more sales development team has now rolled up within marketing, because it doesn't matter whether the last touch was inbound or outbound, but at least it will bring the two teams together to work on the same account, the same buyer together, because we are now 100% responsible for generating the top of the funnel and sales focusing on closing.
Yeah, and ultimately, sales is getting harder every year, marketing is getting harder every year, so the way we achieve our goals is by actually working together. And the way we do this is by going after the best buyers together, really surround them. Our OKR is for our prospect to tell us we see UserGems everywhere, and then align on attribution to actually make this whole thing happen.
And that's it. Happy to take any questions afterward. Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone.